Live. Okay, today's date is 9/19/19. Whoa, look at that, huh? Crazy date. Alright, so I like to set up the division, first of all, with having a regular problem that you know, because we're doing long division. We can do it with numbers. We're going to take the exact same process that we do with numbers, and we're going to apply it to the x's, because the x's are just numbers. They're numbers that we don't know. That's why we call them x's. We don't know what they are, but they are numbers. So, we would go 5 into 34. We know 5 goes into 34 6 times, right? And then 5 times 6 is 30, right? Now, when we divide down below, we're going to take my x into 4x to the 4th. The 3, don't worry about the 3 yet. We'll bring the 3 along, okay? So what is 4x to the 4th divided by x? Now, if you're a little confused, just do a little side work, okay? So my side work would be, okay, what is 4x to the 4th divided by x? Okay, so do a little side work, and hopefully you can see that the x's cancel. One of these x's cancels one of these x's, and it should be 4x to the 3rd, okay? All right? So, x goes into 4x to the 4th, 4x cubed. So I put a 4x cubed right here, okay? What I did above is 5 went into 34 6 times, but then I multiplied these. I went 5 times 6 and I got 30, right? Do the same thing here. I'm going to go ahead and multiply my 4x cubed times my x. Exact same process, which gives me a 4x to the 4th, right? But now I have to remember the 3 is part of the problem too. So I'm also going to make sure I multiply my 4x cubed times my 3. I'm going to multiply times both of them, okay? Because the 3 is part of the problem. So when I multiply 4x cubed times 3, I get a 12x cubed, right? So I get a positive 12x cubed. And I subtract it, right? So above, with just plain old numbers, I just subtract. I go 34 minus 30, and I get an answer of 4, right? Well, I'm going to subtract here also. Now, I got to be careful when I subtract because it's double negatives, but I am subtracting, okay? One way to subtract is just to change the signs, okay?
Where did you get the other negative?
This negative here?
Yeah.
You
said double negative.
Right, I'm not there yet. Yeah, no, I'm not going to have double negatives. Sometimes I will, okay? Sometimes I do. Okay, so I subtract up here, right? So I went 34 minus 30. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my expression 4x to the 4th minus 2x cubed, and I'm going to subtract what I multiplied by, right? Now, kids mess up on subtraction, so here's my suggestion. Remember how we changed the signs before? It's easy to go through and say, whoa, wait a minute, I don't want to make a mistake, so if I change the signs, make that negative and that also negative, I change the signs. For me, it makes it easier so I don't mess up. So I'm not going to subtract, but I'm going to change the signs. So if I change the signs, when I subtract, I don't mess up with my negative. So then, that's gone, right? 4x to the 4th minus 4 to the 4 is gone. But here I'm going to get a negative 2x cubed, subtract a 12x cubed, which is going to be a negative 14x cubed. All right? You see that? So it's easier just to change the signs and then add the negative, okay? Now, up here, what'd you do? Well, you brought down the next term, which is going to be the 5, right? You bring down the 5, so you bring down the next term and you put the 45, right? You do the same thing here. You're going to bring down the next term, just like regular division that we learned in 6th grade or 4th grade or whenever. So we bring down the plus 1x squared. I'll make it a 1x squared just because I like the 1, okay? So I brought it down. So if I go back up to the question number 1, right, what did I do? Well, I said, okay, 5 goes into 45 9 times, right? I'll do the same thing up here. Now this time I'm dividing, so I'm dividing into 45, right? I'm dividing into 45, right? So now I'm dividing into the negative 14x cubed, right? So I'm dividing 5 and 45. Now I'm dividing the x into negative 14x cubed. And again, if you have a hard time dividing it, just do a little division on the side. Take your negative 14x cubed and divide it by your x, right? So then, what do I get? I should get a negative 14x squared, right? So I put my 9 up here, right, because I was dividing, because 5 went into 45 9 times. So I'm going to put my negative 14x squared here because x went into negative 14x cubed, negative 14x squared times. Am I going slowly enough? Okay, if you match up what we did in 6th grade to what we're doing here, it's the exact same process, okay? Now, what did I do? Well, I went 9 times 5, right? 9 times 5, and I got 45, right? I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to take and multiply. Erase that. I'm going to take my negative 14 x squared times x, which gives me a negative 14x squared, right? So I'm going to get a negative 14x cubed. But I can't, I have to remember the 3. The 3 is part of the problem. So multiply that times the 3. So negative 14x times 3, what's that, 42, I think?
Yeah.
I think it's 42, but it's a negative 42. It's a negative 42 x squared. Yeah, I sure can, Julia. There we go. Okay, yeah, how's that? Okay, now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to subtract. But be careful when I subtract because I've got my, here's my double negatives, right? So for me personally, so I won't make a dumb mistake. I just bring the negative through and change the signs. So I like to change the signs because you'll see if I change it through, I bring double negative, makes that a plus, double negative makes that a plus. That way I'm not going to mess up my negatives, okay? Because I can do that. I'm famous for making dumb mistakes, but I'm not going to make a dumb mistake. Okay, then, what did I do up here? I subtracted and got 0, right? Subtracted. Here I'm going to subtract, I get 0. Here when these two, I've already changed signs, are going to give me a 43x squared, okay? Okay, let's keep going with this process, okay? So then, what's the next step? Bring down the next term, right? So we're going to bring down the next term. Bring down the next term, okay? So I'm going to bring down my negative 3x. Okay? And now let's keep going. I'm going to divide 43x squared by x. 43x squared by x, okay? So what is 43x squared divided by x is just 43x. Very good. That's right, Isaac. It's just a 43x, okay? So then I'm going to get a positive 43x, all right? All right, now I need to multiply, right? I'm going to multiply my 43x times x, right? And my 43x times my 3. Got to multiply both. So I'm going to get a 43x squared. And 43 times 3, I don't know, 43, hold on just a second. 43 times 3, I get a 129. So I get a positive 129x, okay? I'm going to subtract, right? I'm going to subtract. Okay, so if I subtract, it's easy for me just to change the signs, right? So I'm going to subtract, so I just bring the signs through, so I'm going to make that a minus and that a minus, right? That cancels. That's the whole point, right? And then negative 3 and negative 129 makes a negative 132x, right? Almost done. Okay. We bring down the next term. Okay. Bring down our 5. We're almost done. We really are almost done. Now, x goes into, let me erase all this, so we're going to divide again, right? So x goes into negative 132x how many times?
100.
Negative 132. And if you need to do some work on the side, take your negative 132x divided by x should just be negative 132, right? So this should be then a negative 132. Okay, we're getting there. So then I multiply, okay? So I multiply this 100 times that, negative 132 times x. gives me negative 132x, right?
396.
And then 100. What do you get? 390. And then you get a negative 396. We are subtracting, right? Right? And if I subtract, bring through my double negatives, right? My double negatives, right? And so then that cancels, and we get a 401. Do we get 401? I think so. Okay, now, you ready? X cannot go into 401. It can't. So this is a remainder. This is a remainder. Now, when you guys were in 4th grade, you could put remainder. You could put R equals. Remember in 4th grade? And then as you got, but then you got to 5th and 6th grade, they said you can't have R because that's inaccurate. That's not a math statement. So you did one of two things, right? You did one of two things. Either you put a decimal and then you added zeros, which you can't do here, right? You can't do here. Or you made it into a fraction. You say the remainder is 401 over what we divided by. Okay, so let me go back to this. If you bring down the 1, 5 goes into 1 0 times, and you'd say the answer is 690 and 1/5. Remember doing that? And 1/5. Remember doing that? Here's what's left over out of 5. You guys don't remember doing that?
Oh, we put a decimal and then we put a 0 down there.
Well, that is one way. You can do that. Yes, you can do that. However, you can't do the decimal on this one, can you?
No.
So what you do is you take your 401. So your remainder is plus your 401 by what you divided by. So this is 1 over 5. Watch. So my remainder, here's what we did. In 6th grade math, we said that our remainder is this over this, what we divided by. So our remainder is going to be 401 over x plus 3. So my answer, here's my answer. It is a 4x cubed minus 14x squared plus 43x minus 132 plus 401 over x plus 3.
Can you just scroll down?
Each single one of those we have to like combine.
That's a pain, isn't it?
Yeah,
That is a pain. Now, if it's a simple problem, I have a simpler way to do it. Now, only if it's a simple problem. And I'll show you on the flip side, okay? If it's a simple problem, this is a simple problem because it's just x, okay? And I'll wait for you, okay?
Simple problem
Yes.
looks identical.
Yep, but there's a much easier way to do it, okay? All right? Now, it's going to get easier. So, when I say simple problem, if you're dividing by, okay, if you're going to divide by x plus a number or x minus a number, there's an easier way. And I'm going to show you that on the flip side, okay? If it's anything but this, my easy way won't work. You'll have to do it the long way. But fortunately today, most of the problems are easy. Okay, so ready to flip the page? That was a pain. You guys agree? That was a headache. So turn the page. Okay, now, ready? Synthetic division. Okay, you got to listen carefully, okay?
It's literally the same thing.
No, it's totally different.
There's a 5.
Synthetic division. When you start synthetic division, the first thing I'm going to do is turn the division sign upside down. Start there. Turn it upside down. Okay? So when I see that upside down division, I know we're going to do this trick, and it's a nice trick. You're going to like it. We're going to get the same answer with a lot less work. Okay? Okay, but you got to listen. Okay? So here we go. Watch. First of all, we're going to make all of the variables invisible. Okay? So the variables are invisible.
No.
So I'm going to put a 4, a negative 2, a positive 1, a negative 3, and a 4. Okay? They're invisible. I already know this is an x to the 4th. I know that's an x third. I know that's x2, x, and no x's. Okay? In order. Okay? But they're invisible. Okay? They're invisible. They're there, but they're invisible. Okay? Now, the next thing I'm going to do is take the opposite of this number, -3. Opposite, okay? I'm taking the opposite of that number, -3, okay? And the reason we do that is because we've changed it to a negative. And instead of subtracting, we've already made the subtraction part of the problem. You with me? When I make this +3 to a -3, we've already made it a subtraction problem. So we're going to add our negative, okay? Now, put a line right there. That's what I call my add line, okay? Put a line right there. That's what I call my add line, okay?
Right above.
It says variables are invisible.
No.
Opposite.
Why is it opposite?
Okay, the reason it's opposite is, I flip it real quick. Here, check it out. I'm going to show you real quickly, okay? When I subtracted Autumn, we just did the opposite,
I know,
right?
but I mean, why up there did you do that?
Because then, instead of subtracting, we're going to add a negative, which is subtraction. We're going to add a negative. We're going to add, here, and you'll see it. We're going to add a negative, which is subtraction. It is subtraction. When you add a negative, you subtract, okay? Okay, trust me. Just bear with me, okay? Make that the opposite, okay? Now, here we go. First step. Always, always, always. First step. Bring the first term straight down, okay? Always bring it down. Put your arrow there. Put your arrow there so you know that that space is occupied, okay? So, we're going to bring first number down. So I'm going to write 4 right here. Okay? And now, here starts the process. We're going to multiply. We're going to go 4 times -3. What's that? -12, right? And we add. We add. -2 and -12 makes what?
14.
Right? We're going to multiply. We're going to multiply. -14 times -3. What's that? 42. And we add. We get 43, right? And then we're going to multiply. 43 times -3, what's that?
129.
-129? These numbers look familiar, don't they? Don't these numbers look familiar? We'll flip the page when we're done, but these numbers look really familiar, okay? And then I add, what do I get? -132. Don't these numbers look familiar? Didn't we just do these exact numbers on the front page? And then we multiply.
396.
Hey, 396, but it's going to be a positive 396. And then I add, what do I get? Now, you ready? We are done. We're done. Except we got to put the invisible x's back in. Isaac, you said something really good. You said it's always 1 less power, didn't you?
Yeah.
You said it's 1 less power because really this problem is dividing x by x to the 4th, right? So all the way through, all of my x variables are going to be reduced by 1, right? So my answer is going to be, the x's are going to be x's 1 less power. So here's my answer. It is a 4x cubed, 1 less power, minus 14x squared plus 43x minus 132. What do you do with the 400? It's a remainder. So put a little box there. It's a remainder, right? So we go plus 400 over, what did we divide by? X plus 3. Now, let's flip the page real quick,
No way.
because I want to make sure I did the exact same problem. Flip it back. Now, let's see. You see these numbers here? You see these numbers? Okay, flip it back. There's my 43. There's my 132. There's my 401. Oh, I changed that from a 5 to a 4. No big deal, okay? But all the numbers are there, right? There's the exact same numbers in this long problem, but they were done with synthetic division. Now, let's do example 4 so you get practice doing it, okay? Let's do it one more time, okay? So, example 4. What's our first step? What's our
Make division upside down.
Okay, make it upside down division, okay? First step, do that, okay? let's put in the numbers. Now, be careful. I'm going to go 5. I'm going to put a 0 right here. Why is there a 0 there? Come on, you guys are smart. I put a 0. Where did the 0 come from?
Because there's no x to the fourth.
See it? There's an x to the fifth. There's no x. You've got to fill every spot. x5. There's no x4. Thank you. Perfect. You've got to fill 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the number, right? You have to fill every spot. So I had to put a 0 in where the x to the fourth was because it's important.
So what, would you still multiply?
Yep.
5 by 2?
Yep. So now, yep. So, what am I going to put right here?
Oh, get 2.
Positive 2. Who said that? Nice job, because it's the opposite, right? Positive 2 here because it's got to be the opposite, okay? Got it. Now, what's the next step? Let's draw in our add line, okay? Put in our add line. And now this time I'm going to put a little box right here because that's my remainder box, okay? That's my remainder box, okay? Now this is my add line, okay? Okay, now let's start the process. To start the process, bring down your first term. Draw your arrow inside so you know that that spot is occupied. Draw your arrow down, okay? Then bring down there 5, okay? First step, bring down the 5. And then we multiply, right? We multiply. 5 times 2.
10.
Add. 0 plus 10 is 10. Multiply. 10 times 2 is add. Multiply. 2 times 23 is 46. Add. What's that, a 50? Multiply. I get a 100. Add. I get a 96. Multiply. What's that, 100 and 192?
Yes.
192, right? Add 193, okay? Now, I like the box right there because that's my remainder. Now, my answer, what's my answer? Let's bring the x's back. The x's were invisible, so let's bring them back. My answer is 5x to the fourth. Here's my answer. Plus 10x cubed plus 23x squared plus 50x plus 96 plus my 193 over what I divided by, which is my x minus 2. Okay. Now,